Hi, and welcome to the monthly WorkRite demonstration webinar. My name is Chris Jones, and I'm the Technical Director at AssessRite. And I'm joined again by Ryan Church, who is responsible for the growth and development of the WorkRite division. His role is primarily to ensure our customers understand the features and benefits of our suite of e-learning courses and systems. Today, he'll be running through the features and benefits of what WorkRite has to offer and talk about a couple of the latest courses that have been released. If you've got any questions about the system or the service behind it, please ask them in the panel on your right-hand side, and we will get to them at the end of today's webinar. Ryan, over to you.
Thanks for the introduction, Chris, and thank you to everyone for joining us for our second webinar. Going to expand a little bit this month on the additional courses that we have available within WorkRite, and a way that we have of actually assigning those various courses to the end users. Our system has 3 levels of access, but everybody is required to do their own training. So at the beginning, what we put in place for a number of our customers is, once they've logged into the system, we ask them a series of questions. Now, this question we have on your screen at the moment is just the one question asking whether I'm an office worker, home worker, or field-based worker. For the purposes of the presentation, I'm going to suggest that I'm an office-based worker because it gives me the office-based DSE course. But what that would actually do, if I had a series of questions, it would allocate whichever number of courses I have on this page that are relative to my role. So if I answered yes, I am a driver, I would have access to the driver awareness course. Equally, do I ever come in contact with members of the public? It could allocate me the conflict resolution course. But like I say, it depends on the series of questions at the beginning, which are completely tailored to each of our customers. But also, there are 3 levels of access, and I am logged in as the administrator of our system at the moment. So scrolling up and down the page here, on the left-hand side, as an administrator, I've got my administration functions on the left. I've got my dashboard in the middle of the page. I've also got my quick links on the right-hand side. If I was logged in as an end user, I wouldn't see the administration functions or the quick links or the dashboard. I would just see the courses that I have been allocated in my training matrix questions at the beginning. I'd also see my company's logo top left, so the system is branded to be relative to my company as well. The end user's experience is much clearer in the sense that because there isn't any administration tools here, there would be a box in the middle saying, "Hi Ryan, please complete the training courses above." Now, I'm going to lead with the DSE course here again today because there's the most functionality around the assessment tool here. So once the end user has logged into the tool, they are asked to complete AssessRite, and the course, it looks like this. The first time they log into the course, each of these modules will be grey, and they must be completed sequentially. They can't dip in and dip out of various different courses until, various different modules until they've completed the module previous. I've previously completed, so we can dip in and dip out for today's presentation. But the idea is that the end user becomes a competent self-assessor, so therefore they are able to complete their own DSE assessment. And the way the course looks, the first screen introduces the functionality, and then they are told why workstation safety is important. They're taken through a few extra slides and how can you be at risk from your workstation. And then each time this icon here pops up, the next button is actually disabled until they do what they are being asked to complete. The idea being that the end user has to be reading the screen and being involved and retaining the information. So there's a level of interactivity to make sure that is taking place. So if I then do as I'm told on the text on the left-hand side, it gives me a few different options, which then takes me through to the next screen. Eye-related problems, 2 more slides, fatigue and stress, and then a quick summary of that section. And I, as the end user or somebody completing my training, I would then have completed that first module, which would then go orange and be ticked. And I could disappear, take a phone call, go to a meeting. I wouldn't have to complete the training all in one go because I would be in a reminder sequence to get the training and assessment done until I'd actually got it completed. So it's worth saying at this point that there are 3 automations within this system. The first automation is to remind people to get their training done in the first place. And the wording and the scheduling of those reminders, whilst they're automated, they can be completely tailored to your policies, your procedures, and your resources. So the most common process is for customers to send the login details email. 2 weeks later, if they haven't completed their training, test, and assessment, they would receive an automatic reminder, and then maybe a week later, and then a final reminder a week after that, which can then be escalated generally to a line manager or a central administrator. That's the first automation. The second automation comes from the assessment, which I'll come on to in a moment. I'll just take you through a little bit more of the training content for now. The third module in the course is about the computer. So the idea is that the end user, by understanding how their workstation should be set up, they're going to be resolving a number of the smaller issues themselves. So in the example we have on the screen right now, if I was a touch typist working from documents, potentially the workstation set up on the screen is more beneficial than the previous graphic. And then if I was a non-touch typist working with documents, potentially that setup there would be more suitable to the way I work. The idea being that you're resolving those smaller issues before the end user gets to their assessment. Equally, training the end user where their screen should be relative distance to them, and also, again, the tilt and the height depending on the way they work. I shan't take you through the whole of the course, but I just wanted to give a feel there of the way the course is delivered. The first 5 modules of training: introduction, chair and desk, computer environment and summary. There's then a test within the DSE course. Now the test, there's a pool of 26 questions, 20 of which are randomly ordered and randomly selected, so you would never get the same test questions twice, so it sort of prevents the end user copying and cheating potentially. What you're looking to achieve is to make sure they are a competent self-assessor before they take their assessment. So in this example here, I've now gone to module 7, but you can see that I have actually got multiple locations. So as an end user, I may not have just the one desk, and the person I'm logged in as here, I have got 3 locations. One's called home workers, one location is called software, which is my office base, and AssessRite is my course group as well. So there's 3 locations for this particular user, but I am actually only one active person, so therefore I only take up one license. So the assessment here, the question sets are all very similar, but I'm going to complete my office-based DSE assessment here. Same principle as on the home page. Orange and ticked means that particular section is completed. Now what we're looking at here is the DSE assessment. So on the left-hand side, these are my section headings. On the right-hand side are the questions relative to the section. If I take you through to the same example I tend to give each time I present the system, it's got the most moving parts, so it makes more sense. Every question has got the functionality I'm about to take you through here. But the question in this example reads, do you experience head, neck or backache whilst working your computer, which you think may be associated with its use? Now, remember the end user is a competent self-assessor before they get to this point. So if they answer never, you can be confident that the person knows exactly they're a competent self-assessor, so they're capable of answering their assessment questions accurately. So if they answer never, there's no action required for that particular issue. However, if they answer sometimes, and let's be fair, a number of people, more than 50% that we've got in our stats, are going to answer sometimes, we would suggest that is potentially a small to medium size issue and can be usually resolved by guiding the end user how to self-resolve that. So what we often suggest is, let's automate a response to the end user saying, you said you sometimes get pain at your workstation. If it continues or worsens, please contact your line manager or your DSE assessor or your health and safety manager, whoever is responsible within your organization. And that can be relative to a large number of locations as well. If you're multinational, those triggers and guidance can take you to the relevant assessor in whichever location you're in. Equally for the oftens, so the end user has come to their assessment and they often get pain at their workstation. We'll probably suggest that you want to hear about that proactively. So a line manager, a DSE assessor, a health and safety manager, anybody can be notified of anybody that answers often to the question, do you experience head, neck or backache? Now the processes within our customers vary sort of quite considerably, but invariably the people that have been notified of the oftens are usually the people that are competent to go and see the end user, to go and help resolve any particular problem. So it's an automated email to that person. However, if the administrator wanted to see all of the outstanding issues that they are responsible for from the home screen within WorkRite, their homepage, they would use the pie chart, which we have in the middle of our screen right now. So as the administrator for student 9, I would have received an automated email saying Stu's got is answered often to the question, do you experience head, neck or backache? But if I wanted to see all of the outstanding issues from the home page, I would access it via this particular pie chart here. So if I do that for you now, just clicked on the wedge of cheese, which is Stu, and actually in this example, student is actually a female, because you'll see why I've stated that when I look at Stu's assessment, because one of the 3 issues Stu has is that they have answered yes to the pregnancy question. So I think we can be quite confident in the demo data that this is a female. The 3 outstanding issues that Stu has with their assessment are: do you experience head, neck or backache often? Are you pregnant? Yes. And has the specific risk assessment been undertaken to your knowledge? Each of these at the implementation stage were categorized as larger issues that need to be dealt with by an external body, i.e. a DSE assessor, an occupational health person, health and safety, whoever within the organization is appropriate to deal with the issue. As the person dealing with the issue, I would log into Stu's assessment. I would potentially go and see them to deal with the issue, and if I was to see Stu and resolve the issue, do you experience head, neck or backache? Have arranged an assessment with health and safety, whoever the person is that's completing that assessment. Add the note, and what you're creating here is an archive of that for that particular issue. So by clicking add the note, it's automatically putting the date, the time, the person I'm logged in as, and I would suggest that that particular issue for that particular person is now in progress. Now that workflow is only necessary for any of the issues that we have left open and that need to be resolved manually. You'll notice the majority of all of the issues in Stu's assessment are closed because 2 things. Firstly, we've trained the end user how to be a competent self-assessor, so we're comfortable that by giving them guidance that they are aware how to implement that advice. But also with examples like can your keyboard be tilted, we've automatically responded to each of these responses and saying, here's the example: automatically close the WorkRite system, please speak to your line manager in the first instance. Now this text here it's not generic across the whole system. It is completely tailored to every single customer's policies, procedures and resources, and that's really important because there are a number of systems on the market that they do give you a generic response to everything, and that isn't going to match your processes, and it's not going to match particularly your resources, because if you were to tell every end user to go and speak to their line manager about a keyboard that was a problem, I'd suggest that potentially in some companies that might cause problems. This is why our implementation process is so hands-on with every one of our 450 plus WorkRite systems. It is so important to get that right. So the end user's experience ends at the assessment, but if I take you back to the assessment questions, I want to give you an example of how we can additionally allocate further courses. Okay, we've already looked at the AssessRite course process. So the 5 modules of training, the test, and then the assessment. But if I take you to the same question we had just now, the pregnancy question, if I was to answer, I've answered the gender question, so I've said I'm female. If I was to answer yes, the system can actually automatically attribute me to the new and expectant mothers course. So this could be the first port of call that an employer actually finds out that a lady is pregnant or returning to work. So this question here, when answered yes, like I say, can add them to the group, so they would then see the new and expectant mothers course. So if you get that sort of workflow with each and every question, you may ask a question in an assessment saying, do you ever work from home? The response then could put them into the home workers section. Do you ever work out of the office? It can allocate them to the mobile workers course. So each of those questions can have a multitude of different outcomes, all automated and set up during the implementation process. So we've looked at the end user's experience of completing DSE and allocating various different courses. We've looked at adding a note to a particular person's assessment, but what we haven't looked at is some of the reporting functionality, and what I tend to dip into straight away is an assessment analyzer, because within a DSE assessment, I'm sure those of you that have completed them face to face, you can get a strong, an educated guess, if you like, of a particular trend of an issue in a particular location. But here we've got sort of hard stats across the whole of the DSE assessment group. So I'm scrolling down here to see the same question I gave you earlier. Do you experience head, neck or backache? I can see here that 26 people have answered never, 34 have answered often, and 32 have answered sometimes. If I wanted to see who those 34 people are, I click on the often, and it's going to show me a list of those 34 people, and on the right hand side here I can see if there's any trend in the location for those particular people. That's a really useful sort of headline statistical management information report for you. And equally, if I wanted to see from the training matrix at the beginning of the process which people are allocated to various different courses, I could then see the new and expectant mothers course. I want to see the number of people that are actually allocated to that course. It gives me a list which I can then export to Excel. I can email selected users in a group, or I can save that to my my saved reports for a report to be run later on. Beyond that, you've got a suite of 40 to 45 different reports. I won't take you through each and every one of them, don't worry, but the management information is very, very important to make sure that you've got people's completion data. If I just quickly run you through the list of courses that we have on this particular page here, asbestos awareness is obviously suitable for people that are potentially going to come into contact with asbestos. It's not suitable for people that are dealing with asbestos on a daily basis. It's generally suitable for housing trusts, people that are dealing with landlords and as such in managed buildings as well, quite popular of course for them. AssessRite we've already touched as our DSE course. Conflict resolution, this is a course that's it's obviously theory based because e-learning lends itself to the theory, but if someone's potentially a receptionist, a security worker that's dealing with people, members of the public or points of contact of people coming into an office, this is a good course to go through the theory. Also covers people dealing with aggressive behaviour over the phone as well, so it's useful for your call centres. Further to that, we've got a COSH awareness course. Again, good for people that need to be aware of sort of labelling of cleaning products and making sure that things are stored correctly. Driver awareness, people that are driving for business. It's a great way of getting across people your driving policy. And there's an assessment at the end that can ask questions such as, is your car suitably insured? Is it MOT? Does it meet with the company policy regarding driving your own vehicle for business? Environmental awareness course, equality and diversity, another course that's sort of fits very much into the HR type category. Feel Right is our stress awareness course. There was a point in history when we first released this course was potentially going to be called Stress Right, but we didn't think that was too appropriate for a stress awareness course, so we've gone for the Feel Right branding. Again, really useful for people to understand the work-life balance. Fire Right is our fire awareness course. Obviously, everybody needs to be provided with fire awareness course. This is a really useful way of making sure everyone's getting a consistent message, and we can include things like points of contact, assembly points on different sites as well, and we can put different assessments on the back end of this if you needed to ask particular questions for a particular person. Further to that, we've got our HandleRite course, which is manual handling. You've then got home workers, which is a DSE course specifically for home workers. I'll just take you through the first couple of slides there. It's more of a home workers environment. I know myself, I have a young infant, and that is particularly a consideration when you've got young children at home working from home. Four more courses, sorry. We've got our mobile workers course, which I've already sort of touched on briefly. Really useful for people that are working away from the office. Not DSE based, but it's a really good generalist type course. And then we've got 3 courses here that sort of fit quite closely together. We've got Office Health and Safety Awareness, which is a general health and safety awareness course for your staff. And then you've got a line managers version, Office Health and Safety Awareness for line managers. And then we've got a recently released course which is called Slips, Trips and Falls. So without sort of taking you into sort of infinite detail on every single course, sort of open the floor up to a few questions. Chris, have we got any questions?
Hi Ryan, sorry, just trying to find the unmute button. Yes, we have had a couple of questions. The first one relates just to the courses that you've been through, and that was that do any of our courses cover information security?
Interesting, actually. I had a couple of customers in the last few weeks actually have asked that question. 2 of our courses cover this in a bit of detail. WorkRite and our data protection course, but if I take you quickly through the few modules here, data security, data protection. what we are sort of doing more and more for our customers is bespoke work. So whilst we've got sort of quite a bit of content, as you can see me flicking through here on this particular subject, lifting this content from one particular course and adding it to another, or just making a simple few slide course on the subject is entirely fine with the way we've got our development team set up. So customers are having bespoke courses, or they're lifting various sections from different courses to make something that's suitable for them. Hope that answers your question.
Great, Ryan, that's brilliant. Another question is, do you provide a single sign-on service? Now, for those of you that are listening that don't know what that means, it's the ability to sign on from your own systems without having a specific WorkRite username or password.
Absolutely. We've got a number of processes that we can, or a number of options we can follow for single sign-on, and equally further integration with existing LMSs within customers' existing infrastructure as it is. So we can, if you're looking to create a seamless experience for the end user, so you've got maybe an existing learning management system that you want them, that your end users are used to using, and you want to be able to use the functionality of WorkRite, particularly the assessment functionality. We can very simply we arrange integration with customer systems, invariably using single sign-on as well. So if that's your objective, to create a seamless experience but also have information sent back to you, it is all entirely possible. It's just conversations with our implementations and technical team. Chris?
Great, thanks, Ryan. One last question. Someone's asked, how long does it typically take to implement?
Okay, it does depend on the size of the company, but equally that's not always the main factor on the time of an implementation. It averages between sort of 2 and 4 weeks. So if you were to be keen to roll something out sort of Q2 this year, as long as we sort of are able to have the order sometime 4 weeks ahead of that, we invariably will be able to meet that sort of deadline. But we have turned the system around in sort of within 24, 48 hours when a customer is particularly keen to get things moving. So yes, we can move equally as quickly or as steadily as the customer is looking for. So hopefully that has answered your questions. Any more questions, Chris?
No, I think that's it for this month, Ryan. So I think based on that, thank everyone for their attendance today, and see you next month.